My friend Gurcharan and the author, Mr. Sujeev Shakya, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great privilege for me to have this opportunity of not only joining Gurcharan in releasing this very interesting book that Mr. Shakya has written, but to also take this opportunity of reinforcing many of the points which have been made in this presentation. Mr. Shakya referred to the fact that I had the honor of serving as India's ambassador in Kathmandu for a couple of years, 2002, 2003, 2004. I was there not even 2 years, but it certainly seemed as if I was there a much longer time. And certainly I think it is for any Indian diplomat, it's a great privilege to have the opportunity of representing India in a friendly and neighboring country like Nepal. And I certainly thoroughly enjoyed my all too brief stay in Nepal. And it has left very, very deep impressions on me. And I'm very happy that Mr. Shakya referred to me as a well-wisher of Nepal, because this is one country where I feel beyond the professional fascination that I have for Nepal, there is a much deeper fascination for the country and its people. So I'm very happy to have this opportunity to revisit some of those old memories. And the memory which comes to me, first of all, which is very directly related to what Sujeev has mentioned here. When I went, I found that a lot of our Nepali friends looked upon themselves as somehow being hemmed in or closed by China, huge neighbor on the north, and a very huge, and overpowering almost neighbor to the south, and almost like a sense of siege. And the very first interview that I gave to one of your newspapers, I said, don't consider yourself India locked, consider yourself India open. And that phrase I kept on using during the time that I was in Nepal, that really Nepal should look upon India as being its vast, productive hinterland. Look upon India as giving you a market not only of 20 million people who are there in Nepal, but look upon Nepal having access to a market of 1 billion people. And when you start looking at Nepal's economic prospects in that context, sky is the limit. Therefore, the point that has been made in this book, that really Nepal has a great opportunity to capitalize on its proximity to both India and China. Both economies which are not only large, but today represent two of the most dynamic economies in Asia and also in the world. I always feel that all that Nepal has to do is to hitch itself to India, and it will rise up. This is a choice, of course, Nepal has to make. Secondly, another point that has been made here about Nepal's locational advantage and various other attributes it has. What I felt was in Nepal that again, I'm sorry if I'm looking at this from the Indian perspective. I did a lot of work on the border infrastructure and the communication linkages between India and Nepal. And one of the things which I felt was that, the whole mid-hill areas in Nepal, if you just go outside Kathmandu, you find perhaps 10 or 15 Masuris, Simlas and Darjeelings, ranged just in that little ridge around Kathmandu. But there are ridges like that right across Nepal. And if you look at any of the northern cities of India, it is Kanpur, Allahabad, Patna, Dehradun, Lucknow, all these, if you had good connectivity, if you could get into a car in Lucknow and within a few hours, if you were in the hills in the mid-hill areas in Nepal, look at the huge potential it creates. Because when comes summer, You see places like Mussoorie or Simla, they are absolutely chock-a-block full. But here, if you had that opportunity, look at what it means in terms of transforming the economic prospects. The other point that I used to make was, when I used to visit, and when I still visit places like Dehradun or Mussoorie or Simla, you know, one of the strange things I find is that these places are full of Nepali students. You know, all the schools in these areas are completely full of students from Nepal. And I always felt it should be actually the other way around. That, you know, Nepal should actually be the educational center for, you know, the whole subcontinent. Again, because it has a locational advantage, it has, you know, weather conditions which are completely, you know, no other place has the kind of advantages in terms of ambience, in terms of weather as Nepal has. So unparalleled advantage, again, locational advantage. A few Indian hospitals and medical companies have also created health centers in Nepal. Well, actually, you can multiply that to a very, very large, you know, scale, because again, there is a demand for that. So, if Nepal were to look at how to utilize its locational advantages, its proximity to India, and eventually it's also its proximity to China, really the potential for Nepal is absolutely incredible, even if you don't count the hydroelectric power potential that you have referred to. That is, I would say, an additionality. But even if that was not there, there are still so many things that you can do. And the one thing which struck me, and this is, I will conclude with that, I had gone to the eastern part of Nepal, Pashupati Nagar. Around that area, which is a very poor area, and the soil is not at all productive. When I was going around in some of those remote areas, I found a large, well, not a very large farm, but I found a farm where there were flowers and you know, these decorative plants being grown. And I asked the farmer there, you know, what are you growing these for? And he said, oh, you know, I used to grow, you know, this barley before, but I could not eke out a living. Then I discovered that there is a flower market just across the border. And therefore, you know, my whole prospect has completely changed, because now I'm growing these flowers and I'm supplying, you know, the market just across the border. So those are examples of what Nepal can actually do in terms of leveraging its locational advantages, leveraging its proximity to two of the most dynamic growing economies, and actually making a choice as to which way you want to go, because you need not go through large-scale industrialization. You can develop your service economy, education, health, tourism you already have, and you are really, I believe, have the opportunity to be the richest country in South Asia. Thank you very much.